Welcome to Entrepreneurship at Rowan, an official production of the award-winning Rowan Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. We cover the entrepreneurial pulse of Rowan students, faculty, and alumni. Prepare to be Rowan proud.
Hello, Rowan University. Welcome back to Season 5 of the Entrepreneurship at Rowan podcast, where we will be focusing on creative entrepreneurship. Today, I'm here with Steven Feinberg, a professor here at Rowan in the Music Business Department, who also oversees Rowan Music Group, Rowan's student-run record label. He's also the founder of 8Spoke, a brand consultancy and artist management business that has worked with companies like Steve Madden Music Project and artists like Megan Thee Stallion and Grimes. Steven, you have a really interesting career journey and portfolio of work, and I'm so happy that you could join us today.
Why, thank you very much, Maddie.
Yeah. So you were a Rowan alum here. So first question for you is just to explain, your career journey. You've worked in music, television, brand consultancy. So I'm just, curious about your background and what got you to where you are today.
Yeah. So I went here when it was still Glassboro State College. I was the last graduating class of Glassboro State before it turned to Rowan University. And by the way, when I was here, I studied communications, but it was really art and music. There wasn't the program that I teach in now here. I played in a band in the area. I worked in bars. I did all the stuff that I guess you do from 18 to 21. But I really came here for music because my band played here. And I loved it. So when I left here, the band pursued a music career. We were about to get signed to a record deal, and the band broke up, and the record label went out of business, a classic story. So I left the area, and I moved to New York City to go work on a TV show, Law & Order. It was great. I was very lucky. I met someone who met someone, and next thing I know, I was working there. It was actually the #1 show on TV at the time. It was cool. But from there, I really loved actors and the artists. So I started working with actors as a talent agent. I did that for a couple of years, but I hated working at the agency, but I loved the actors. So I started managing actors, which led me back to, actually, I started teaching at NYU there for a little while, teaching the business of acting. But I met a band, or kids that were starting a band. That band went on to sell 15 million records. And I started managing artists full-time, left NYU and started managing artists. And that really left a whole world open to me that becomes the rest of my career.
What's the name of this band, this 15 million records? It's so cool.
Well, I hate to say that you're too young for this, but it was a band called Good Charlotte. They were very big in the sort of pop-punk world after Blink-182 and Green Day is sort of the Good Charlotte, Sum 41, Panic at the Disco world. I signed them when they were in high school. They got a record deal and a publishing deal. I had never done any of these things when I started. Talk about entrepreneurship. I had never done anything in that world, in the music world, nor did I know anyone in the music world. So it made it very difficult. We can talk about that in a second. But, after the first couple of years, they were already platinum, multi-platinum, and I did 9 years with them, just under 10 years. And they're at 15 million, albums sold, billions of streams. I then signed a couple other artists, including a group called Flight of the Conchords, which became a show on HBO. It's a musical comedy duo. And I loved it and lived for it. But as management goes, we broke apart. I sold that company and I started working with fashion designers. And I met Steve Madden, the shoe designer. Steve and I actually started the Steve Madden Music Project, but we also started our own record label at Warner Brothers Records. And I did that with Steve. It was a 3-month project. It lasted 8 years, right up until COVID. COVID sort of put an end to it because of the finances of the world.
Yeah, that is so cool.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So what was that like, in the beginning of your music journey? How did you teach yourself all those different things and teach yourself about brand management, artist management,
It's funny. It's funny you ask because I do a lot of entrepreneurship interviews, especially starting here. I do many a semester. I am just a student of life. I am endlessly inspired, forever curious. So if you tell me I can't do something, I'm probably going to try and do it. Might not succeed, but I will try. And if I don't know how to do it, I will ask anyone and everyone that will give me advice. I listen to a lot of people, and then I just take it and try and do the best I can. And it's worked out. I gave a lot to luck, but it's a lot of work. I can work 3 days straight with no sleep if I'm inspired to learn something because it's the best. I really love it.
I'm actually having one of those 3 days right now.
Yeah,
I'm just writing all the time.
And I think it's in the entrepreneurial person to have some of that. It's all for you anyway, right? It's all enriching your life, your mind, your other people's lives and minds too. It's amazing. I feel very lucky to be able to be an entrepreneur for the last. I've had my own business since 1999, so it's. What's that about 26 years.
Yeah.
So it's been great.
I feel like a lot of creative people, they are entrepreneurs and they don't always realize it because, first you think,
100%.
I'm an artist, but you're also an entrepreneur. You're creating your own success in your career. Yeah. So one of the things I was curious about is how you balance, those creative elements of your job with entrepreneurial tasks like the business back end stuff and managing a business and the legal stuff, but also, making sure that you're still being creative and getting to exercise those creative muscles and your passions.
That's a great question. Well, first of all, I was a classically trained bass player. I was in band. So the creative side comes quite naturally, and I don't find much effort in that. It sort of is in me. All the other stuff does. I mean, I actually went to school here. I had ADHD. I still have ADHD and dyslexia. So reading books was really tough. Learning that way was, what's funny? I just realized something. Learning by book was very difficult. And when I said I talked to a lot of people, I think because I learned that way much quicker, I can absorb that information. That the legal side, I met a lawyer and I was like, I did one of those things. Can I just pick your brain? And he let me sit with him for an hour and he talked about legal stuff and it made sense. I actually called the manager of the band Green Day before I knew anyone in the music business, asked him if he would mind talking to me. He actually met me for over an hour. I mean, Green Day was probably 20 times platinum at that point. He said, if you're ever in Los Angeles, let's have lunch. So I literally flew to Los Angeles and had lunch with the manager of Green Day, and he took me for 4 hours.
That is so cool.
And I learned, that was more than a class of how to do it in the music business. And I just kept doing that over and over and over again. The legal work and some of the business side doesn't come all that naturally to me, but you learn because you have to, you learn because it's your job. And if you don't get it right, you're out of business.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally relate to what you're saying too with, the ADHD and the talking to people. That's always how I learn best. In my classes at Rowan, anytime there's a discussion based class where the teacher's engaging us, that's the best classes that I've had here.
And that's how I try and teach too, by the way, because I feel in the music and arts world and entrepreneurial worlds as well, because I find them to be quite artful, ADHD and neurodivergence is quite prevalent. And so I feel that when I teach it and when I talk to other people, that's the best way for you to learn it. It's the best way for me to learn it.
My background, I'm a writer. I run the WIT at Rowan.
Oh, you do?
But yeah, it's the same thing. I'm always just if you want to talk about something, let's just talk about it. Let's just figure it out. And that's why I love reporting so much too. Cause your whole job, you're just talking to people and interviewing people and it's so much fun.
I love that you do this and the WIT, and see, this is exactly my point. That's that entrepreneurial spirit. That is what it takes. Speaking
of managing and juggling a bunch of different things, you have a lot of different interests, a lot of different businesses, projects, and you work with some really cool people, but you still find time to come here and be a professor and oversee Rowan's record label. I'm just wondering how you do it all and what are some tips that you have in staying creative while juggling all these things and not burning yourself out and finding time to put equal effort into all of your different passions.
I mean, that's awesome. So 2 things. One, burnout is real and people talk about it often in our businesses. I mean, I hate to say this even out loud. I don't really suffer from it. I've never truly had the burnout. Most people that I know have. If you're an entrepreneur and doing all your own stuff, you're working all the time. When I was managing Good Charlotte in the early, I didn't take a vacation for 6 years. I didn't even think about it. I don't even know if I wanted one. I was just in it to win. People, one of the most common questions is, how do you do it all? I don't know. I don't know any other way. I grew up in South Jersey with, barely anything. I barely made it through this college the first time I went there. I go here again now. I'm also, by the way, I'm a full-time teacher, but I'm also getting my master's here at the same time.
Oh, nice. What are you getting your master's in?
Accelerated program, which is just making a master's in arts administration.
Nice.
So working in the nonprofit sector for what I hope to do it after this all. So, listen, I do feel fortunate every day. I study Buddhism, and I feel that, my life was to be in service of artists, to teach. All that stuff is an honor to do those things. I mean, I want to get paid, don't get me wrong. But I don't know. There's enough hours in the day. I can't believe I'm going to tell a story. When I was young, someone said, I don't have time to go to church. And the priest said to the kid, you make the time. You have time. There's enough time. And I don't know. I grew up Jewish and I study Buddhism. I'm not sure why I'm telling this church story, but I remember it's really stuck with me. He's like, you make the time. If you want to come to church, make the time. There's so many hours in the day. There really is. And time management, which when you have ADHD is terrible, but that's my struggle is time management. I have time to do it all. I also have, by the way, 4 kids and I live in Brooklyn. So I actually
commute here every.
I actually come down here. Not every day. I stay down here. My parents still live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, Voorhees actually. But so yeah, I actually come down from Brooklyn to just make my life even more complicated.
Wow, my mom grew up in Brooklyn, so yeah,
nice.
It's a far drive. I feel like entrepreneurship's so risky in the way that like you really don't know what tomorrow could look like. Mm-hmm. You could be, your business could blow up and you could be a millionaire, but also it could be going like downhill, but you just have no idea. It's like part of the risk of doing that. So how do you keep yourself present and keep that worry and that stress of the future and the past and everything
That's
away?
A good one. It's a strange answer, but I never was that concerned about the future. I was always entertained by my present, like whatever it was. And I say this to a lot of people. I'm a yes person. Like if someone says, do you want to go out later? Yes. Do you want to like learn how to make pottery? Yes. Like I'm in. So being present, I'm too busy in the present to actually think that much about the future. And listen, I've been a millionaire and I've been broke, and sometimes in the same 12 months. There's no use worrying about the future because I'm so busy trying to make the present wonderful that I think it usually works out like that. Not for everyone, I'm sure. For me, working super hard in the present makes me not worry about the future.
But it's true, like if you're always worrying about the future, you're not doing anything about it now. You're not doing anything to build that future.
Well, those are the people that you can't be an entrepreneur and do that, right? So you're running the WIT, you're doing this podcast, you're a student, you're doing all those things. You're so busy making the future that all you're doing is the present. And it does, you are thinking about the future because you're working towards it, but you're not like, what do I do? How am I going to make it? You will be doing something. That's usually enough.
That's totally how I think too. I'm just like, people are like, what are you going to do after? I'm like, I don't know. It'll happen. It's just going to happen.
You're doing 10 things now, so it will happen. That's, that luck is all, preparation and time or whatever the, luck comes from, but you make all that stuff happen. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a job at the time, you'll be doing a bunch of other things to get the job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those people usually succeed. Very rarely do they not.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, by the way, they had an amazing future. So,
At least they had the potential to.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
There you go. I want to say that. They had the potential for an amazing future.
So I do want to chat with you a little bit about Rowan Music Groups and like what you do there and how you're able to use your experience as, a artist manager and all your creative experience to sort of oversee these students and what you're able to help them with and just, what your role is there and what, Rowan Music Group really is.
I'm often brought in as a consultant to either record labels because of the success and the type of success I had with the band. I'm often, it happened very cleverly, not necessarily because of me, but it's just the way it rolled out that I'm often brought in to consult on how to do certain things. Same thing. So when I came here to Rowan, Artist Services 1, 2, and 3 are the courses you take as a second semester junior and both your seniors. And it was learning about how to be in a record label, all the departments. And so my idea, because of my background and needing to be interactive, I made those classes all happen at the same time. And so we now have a functioning record label where we sign artists and we put out their music. We just put out a song on Valentine's Day by a new artist. Rowan Music Group was the label. But the way real record labels work is there's an overarching company and then different segmentation. So what we did was we made Rowan Music Group the umbrella. And the 3 segments are the touring class, which is now called RMG Touring, which is taught as a course about how to, be an artist and be on the road. There's RMG Productions, which is taught by Barbara Adams, which is all the live sound section.
Oh, nice.
And then there's Red Oak Records, which is the actual record label. So all 3 of those fall under the Rowan Music Group. And the label name change happened because all throughout the country, there's student-run record labels, and not one of them uses their university in the title. So last year, our Artist Services 2 group got together to rename and rebrand the label, which was an amazing experience for the students and myself, to be quite honest. Red Oak is the state tree of New Jersey.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, who knew?
Yeah.
And so we created Red Oak Records to put under the umbrella of the Rowan Music Group.
Yeah, that is so cool.
Yeah, it's good, and it seems to be working quite well. The students seem to be loving it, but they work in departments just like a regular independent record label. And they do that across 3 semesters. And again, they find artists and then put out the music and promote the music and do the PR and do the production. They do all the things that they need to do for as if they were in a record label. And it's quite satisfying, to be honest. And kids seem to be benefiting greatly. And man, I wish that was here when I was here. I mean, it's incredible to have that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So. It's so cool. And it's so cool that they get experience doing, you know, like the booking and the PR and all of that, because that's just as important as having talent. If you have talent and nobody knows about it, how are you ever going to...
You should teach the course. That is exactly the point. You could be the most talented person in the world. If you don't have all those other skills or knowledge of it, no one's... I'm sure the greatest artist has never been heard because they're probably so busy being an artist, they didn't know how to get their word out there. So... we're here to change that.
And that kind of goes into your business with 8 Spoke too, you know, working with the artists and the brands to enhance that kind of stuff in addition to their talent. So could you tell me a little bit about that and why you founded it and also, you know, what you do there and how that business sort of operates?
Sure. So 8 Spoke is actually, by the way, a Buddhist reference to the wheel of teaching in Buddhism, which is the Eightfold Path, which is to behave in certain ways would create yourself a better future and a better life.
Yeah, we just learned about that in class.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the right speak,
proper speech, proper, right. So
absolutely.
If you follow the Eightfold Path, so 8 Spoke is that sort of a, you know, just my version of that. The symbol is the wheel of teaching. That's so funny that you just learned
cool.
that.
Yeah.
But like the idea timing. Was by doing the things that I really wanted to do for myself, you know, that I was interested in, doing them properly would bring me to some level of enlightenment, but it would also better the world, better the arts, better the people that are involved, which is, you know, the wheel of teaching. So I was managing, and then when I stopped managing Good Charlotte, I started 8 Spoke, which was to help bands and artists on a much sort of bigger scale than just management. My ex worked in the fashion world, and she was very powerful at the time, and so we started reaching out. I met with like Vogue magazine and said like, how can we do more music with your magazine? You know, things like that. I had enough success to get in the room. And then I started consulting for Vogue and I started consulting for all these people. And I was consulting for some other people when I met Steve Madden, the man, come into a meeting. Music is his actual passion. He and I were talking and he said, you should come and work for me. And I was like, what? And he's like, let's talk, meet my marketing people, have some discussions, and then let's see what we could do together. A couple months later, I met with his marketing people. I pitched them all these crazy ideas, like really nutty stuff. And then I didn't hear from them for 9 months. And out of the blue, they called me up and said, we want to talk to you about all those things you suggested. But I didn't take notes. My ADHD won't allow me to remember what I said. Mm-hmm. So I was like, listen, I don't even know what I told you guys, but I would love to try. So I came on for 3 months. Like I said, it lasted for 8 years. But Steve wanted to help artists. And for me to be able to give artists money or help them create content or do events for their fans that didn't cost money for the fans is like my Buddhist nature come to life. So I was doing all this, what I thought was good for the brand, with the brand money. And then, whether it was Megan Thee Stallion, we were working with Iggy Azalea, had just come out. I actually met Iggy. I was at her record label talking to the guy that signed her, who also happened to have signed Good Charlotte. I was there and Iggy walked in.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and again, I've been in rooms with some crazy famous people and just trying to be calm and cool while you're in there. So she walks in. She's lovely. She was very young at the time, but she was talking about shoes. And I said, oh, well, I work with Steve Madden. And she's like, I love Steve Madden.
Oh, my gosh.
I was like, well, let me introduce you guys. Let's do something. She did a free show for Steve Madden Music. The day her record went to the #1 record in the world, she did a free show for us. That turned into a shoe deal for Iggy, and Madden people loved it. Iggy loved it. She made lots of money. I looked like I was a genius. All I said to her was, "Hey, you should meet Steve," and it all happened.
That just spiraled from there.
And whether it was Megan or any of these other people, Steve Madden, the brand, has a lot of love in the music world, so it wasn't too difficult to say like, "Hey, do you want free stuff?" Mm-hmm. And how can we do more? So I actually just spoke to Billie Eilish's manager, and she said, "Oh, I remember I met you so long ago," because I actually saw one of Billie's earliest shows at South by Southwest, the music conference, And I was working with Steve Madden, and she's like, I love Steve Madden. She wasn't Billie Eilish yet. She was just a young artist named Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
And then I wrote to him just the other day, and he's like, I remember you from back in the day. You gave me some shoes. Like, it was an amazing way to like enter into rooms where people were like happy to see me. So I did that for many years. I consulted for most major record labels, a lot of the independent record labels, on how brands and artists can come together. And depending on if you're super famous or you're unknown, it's a very different approach.
Such a cool experience getting to meet all those people and network. Just having them in your network is like so cool.
Yeah, and Steve was asking people to come and play in his store, and they would pay them.
Yeah.
And then I turned it into, sometimes the artists were just doing it as a favor for us, for them, for the social media, for the press, whatever it was. I loved being in it. Plus, I was throwing up more or less a very large private party once a month, and all my friends got to just come and drink for free.
Yeah.
And then, my kids got to meet all the famous people. So it was really, it was a dream. I loved it. And I'm actually working, weirdly, starting last month with Steve's charity, which is called Kula for Karma, which Kula is community for the betterment of things.
Yeah.
Working with people post pandemic stress and how to find like some mental health through Buddhist practices. Yeah, they contacted me, and that's actually why I started talking to Billie Eilish about World Mental Health Day, which is in October.
So I am curious, what is like the coolest part about working in the music industry as an entrepreneur and also as, a brand consultant? And on the contrary, what has been like, the most challenging part for you as well?
Another skill set I have is being around very famous people, very successful people, and not losing my cool. Mm-hmm. But I love it so much. It's so fun. And once I had kids, it was really amazing. You know what my favorite part is? I get to share. You're behind the scenes, and I don't want to be when I was in a band, I never wanted to be in the spotlight, but I love to be part of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also in that same spirit. Like, watching a band that I'm managing literally play to, the first time I ever saw Good Charlotte, they played to only me. Their first live show was to only me. They played every song they had, which was 5 songs, twice, because they couldn't play long enough to make a whole set. Mm-hmm. When I left them, they were playing to 30,000 people. Being part of that is the reward that I'm looking for. Like, some people don't even know I was part of that arc or that success. But I love just being part of that and bringing my friends to it and letting people that I know experience it with me was really meant a great deal to me. The worst part, the hardest part, I don't know if there was another question in there, but the hardest part has always been, and this was, I'll warn anyone, is when you work alone, you're alone, and you don't have the network or the instant. If you and I were in business together and I'm just thinking, I'm like, what would you think if we did this? You don't have that person, and man, many days and many nights you need that person. And so if you don't have a network of people, and even if you do, they don't want to help you all the time. They're busy doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. So not having partners or not having, and at different times, by the way, I've had business partners all through my career. Super important. And, my 8 Spoke at some point had 9 employees and myself. So we had 10 people there. I love those days, but I also love working by myself and not having to worry about payroll and health insurance and all that stuff that you have to do. The worst part of owning your own business is you have to run your own business. Mm-hmm. And that gets really, tough. But being alone is really hard. And a lot of entrepreneurs surround themselves with people that tell them they're great or smart or yes all the time. And those are the worst people to have in your circle. Mm-hmm. You need people to, bring it on and challenge you and make you think differently and all that stuff.
I always think about the quote that says, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
1,000,000%.
So it's
true. Yes. Yeah. You never want to be at a party that you're in the party of. No, it's not. I just heard this. They were talking about sort of being smart in the room. Mm-hmm. And someone brought up the thing. It's best to be the last person to speak, which I always thought, get in front of it. Entrepreneurs very often are up front. And someone said, if you were sitting in a room full of 5 people that all do something similar to you, let them all speak, because if you're a fast processor, you'll know what they're all about. You have a ton of information. Then you speak, you tend to look like the smartest one in the room because you've just gathered all this information that the first person definitely didn't have. So that's been my new sort of approach, is letting people sort of tell you what they're about, and then I can sort of advise from there. It helps a lot as a consultant.
You know, your creative students do come into your office or into your classes. What's something that you wish that they were taught about entrepreneurship when it comes to their music or their brands, that might not currently be on their radar, or might not currently be something that they think of when they think of, I'm going to be a singer, I'm going to be a guitarist. What's something that you wish that they knew more about the entrepreneurial side of how to be successful in that industry?
Well, I mean, the actual answer is that I wish they knew more about the entrepreneurial side. I don't think artists realize, and by the way, this is what I teach in business. I also teach the course called Business of Music 1, which is the overview of the music business. And you realize how little they know. And it's not their fault, And by the way, I manage an artist who's in her 30s, and we were just having this big conversation about publishing. She's like, I'm not sure I understand the difference between whatever it was, publishing and mechanical royalties. But it is their livelihood. It is their business. It's what makes them rich or poor. It's what makes them protected or vulnerable or any of those things. And it's interesting because when you're in the arts, any part of the arts, they very rarely know the business. And that is a very dangerous game to play, because that's why artists have throughout time have been taken advantage of, because people in the music business, which is the business part of their art, know how to do all those things. And I do consider myself very much the stopgap in there. Managers are very often protectors of the artist and their art, but from the business perspective, I just wish they knew more about the business and how legal it can become, and how if they do the wrong thing, you can go from being rich to poor in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. You can also go from poor to rich in a heartbeat too. But without protection, you're going to get poor very quickly again. So my answer is actually, I wish they understood that they are entrepreneurs. They do run their own business, and it's the part they know the least of. Almost 100% of the artists I've ever worked with or talked to, that's the part they know the least, is the business. Yeah. So there's a great book, by the way, if you know, called All the Things You Need to Know in the Music Business by Donald Passman. It's considered the Bible of the music business, but it goes over just the basics of business, like how to get a lawyer. What does a lawyer even do? Mm-hmm. What is a business manager versus an artist manager? Man, protection. You need to protect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes me think, I'm a huge Swiftie. That makes me think right away of Taylor Swift and the Scooter Braun dilemma that happened.
Don't get me started. But
yeah,
yes,
like all of her music was stolen from her. It's crazy.
Unfortunately for Taylor in that situation, though, her dad had a lot. He didn't help. He actually really hurt. I don't know if you know. I've seen the transcripts, and I know both. Yeah. I've met both of those parties. Taylor had the opportunity, and her dad didn't take it, and then it made her super vulnerable to exactly what happened. Is someone bought her music, and that she didn't want to own it, and now she's stuck. I mean, listen, she's Taylor Swift, so it kind of didn't matter, because ultimately she's the only artist in the planet, we talked about this in my class, that could re-record her music and tell her fans, don't listen to the old one, listen to the new one, and they did it.
Yeah.
There's no artist in the world. I mean, it's in the world. I don't care, Drake, The Weeknd, all these big artists, their fans went to it. They listened to whatever version they wanted. Swift fans, different. Taylor was actually given the right to buy the music. She passed. She didn't. Her team did.
Yeah.
But it's in this transcript. Her father passed on the opportunity. Wow. Taylor didn't know that. So when it all comes back around, she's like, what the hell happened? It comes out in the transcripts. You see it as... He's like, that's why he was able to do it, is because they actually did give her the opportunity. Yeah. Now, she didn't know, but the people around her did. So
like her team. That's wild.
Yeah, and you can't blame her. Like, you just can't know everything all the time. But it's a business. It's a very profitable, scary business, and artists are vulnerable.
What advice would you give yourself when you were here at Rowan? You've had such an interesting and impressive career journey. What is one piece of advice that you would give yourself when you were a student?
I think I almost cried just then. So bring it all the way back around is when I was here, this is how I used to put it, I was moving so fast. I was trying to gobble up every piece of life I could. I was out every night. I used to tell the story. I lived in Chestnut Hall when I got here. I saw the sun come up more nights than I didn't. Like, I was up every night on I was just trying to take it all in, but I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on, and quality over quantity kind of thing. Like, I just wasn't paying attention. Going as fast as you can is not the right speed, right? Going a manageable speed where self-care is super important. Your mental health is super important. I wasn't paying attention to any of those things of taking care of myself. And I'm not sure my life would have been different, but I'm not sure I wanted it to be. But I did wish I was paying more attention to like how okay I was and how okay everything was. Mm-hmm. No one sort of, again, I was on my own getting out of high school. So no one sort of helped me with that. I think there's a lot more mental health awareness and stuff now. But so I just wish I was paying a little more attention and staying, not trying to get to the next place, but stay in the place I was at. Because it was amazing. I mean, you can love the school, you can hate the school, but going to college is an amazing part of your life. Mm-hmm. And you get to make what you want of it. I just think I was moving super fast, and I wish I was going a little slower.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Steven. I'm so impressed with everything that you've done, and I'm really inspired. I love, the morals behind your business as well, and like the Buddhism. It's so cool and so inspiring, and I can't wait to keep up with everything and watch everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you. Likewise, I look forward to seeing what you do.
Thank you for listening. Rowan is proud to be an official knowledge hub of the International Council for Small Business. Our AACSB award-winning entrepreneurship programs challenge students to solve real problems in bold and impactful ways. If you're interested in supporting entrepreneurship at Rowan or want to get more involved by hiring an intern, speaking to a class, or being featured as a case study, contact us at rcie@rowan.edu.